Coming up on Hands on Mac, it is time to take a look at the Home app on macOS. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This show is brought to you by members like you. Thanks. Welcome back to Hands on Mac. I am Mikah Sargent, and today we are taking a look at the Home app on macOS. Yes, it is the app that lets you control your smart home from your Mac. And I thought this was an important episode to cover because we are fresh into 2024, and this is the year of Matter, the smart home protocol language system that is supposed to give us the ability to communicate and connect with multiple smart home devices across different platforms, whether you use Amazon's Alexa, Google's Assistant, or the assistant from Apple, Siri, or Siri. In any of those cases, you should be able to communicate, with many different devices. And that is what we're going to be. That's why I feel it's important for us to talk about the Home app on macOS, because there may be times where you want to use that app to control the smart home gizmos and gadgets that you get. We also are hot on the heels of CES, where many new gadgets that are specifically smart home related are often announced. So you may be getting some new products soon that you're going to add to your smart home experience. So I want to be able to talk to you about what it's like to control these devices on your Mac. So let's head over to macOS and take a look. All right, here we are on macOS, and you can see I've already got the Home app open, and I'm using my personal home, which makes it easier for you to see the different devices that are available across the entire home. And the first thing to understand is typically on macOS, my favorite thing to do, if you've watched many of these episodes, is to come up to the menu bar and go through the settings here on Home, and then File, Edit, Format, View, Window, and Help. But here, you're going to notice there's no settings menu here. The only thing we get is an About Home option, which of course just has a little pop-up that talks about the app itself. File has a little bit that we can do, like adding an automation or adding a scene, which we'll talk about in a moment. Edit doesn't really have much that you're able to do either, other than editing a home or a room, which we'll show in a moment as well. Format doesn't have anything that you'd want to work with. View can switch between different windows, and then window, which is kind of odd, right? That the view switches between different menus within the home itself. Window, of course, does what it normally does across all of macOS, and then Help gives you the ability to search the kind of home help settings to understand how to use it, the documents rather than how to use it. So that should be your first hint that to access the settings, we need to not go there, but instead we go to my favorite button, the three dots, the More button up in the top right corner. When we click on the More button, we are presented with any alerts that may be in place, as well as the home settings and the ability to reorder sections. So first and foremost, I'm going to mention this alert. If at any time a device becomes disconnected or there's some other issue going on, you will see that notification up here in the alerts section. If I click on that, it will go to that specific device, and I can kind of get some more information about that. We'll come back to that soon. Next would be home settings, but I'm not going to go to that because the next thing I want to show you is how to reorder sections within the app. If I click on reorder sections, you are presented on this home screen with the option to choose how things are organized. So right now, I have my favorite devices at the top, scenes next, and then I have the different rooms: living room, bedroom, kitchen, office, and dining room. Depending on how you want your main screen organized, you would make changes here. So maybe you most often make adjustments to the lights in the office. So you would want to take that and click on the three lines on the right side to drag it up underneath scenes and make that more easily accessible. Perhaps you never use scenes, so you want to drag that to the bottom, or favorites or something that you don't use, and so you could drag that to the bottom. Depending on what rooms you have created and how you have your sections organized, that is how you go about organizing sections. The next option, though, the one that's in the middle, is home settings, and let's take a look at this. So first and foremost, you have the name of your home, whatever you've chosen to name your home. you have the people that are part of your home, and then you have some sections, including energy, home hubs and bridges, sensors, speakers, and TV, which we'll come back for. Listen for Hey SIRI, software update, media, including sound check, scenes, including showing suggested scenes, home wallpapers, a place to add notes, and then last but not least, location services and remove home. So let's start at the top and talk about what each of these sections do. In the people section, you yourself are the creator of the home. And so if I click on this tab, you have some options here for what you can do as you yourself. You can choose to have Siri recognize your voice. That means that when you communicate with a device that can hear Siri that's in your home, so that would be HomePods, HomePod minis, that kind of thing, you are telling the system, yes, I want you to recognize my voice. And that is because it can provide you with personal requests. So if I click on personal requests, which is not popping up here. But if I were to click on personal requests, these would be options like having it set something specific to me to respond to a message from me and be able to use those communications as I need to. So if a text message comes in, I can say, I want to have that text message responded to. It will use my voice to know that it's me and be able to respond to that text message. Show me on Apple TV. This is an option that if you're using an Apple TV, you will see yourself as a user on that Apple TV. So when you hold down the home button, you can switch between users on the Apple TV. I'm sort of pointing up in the air because it appears in the top right corner of the screen, the different users that are available. And here it lets me select which Apple TVs that are both connected to my Apple ID and on the same network and in the same home as this Mac. Those are the televisions that are available for me to be shown on. So I've got one here in the office on Apple TV, and I've got one in my living room, and I have mine set to show me on both. Next is music and podcasts. This is a choice of whether to allow explicit content. So here I'm saying that yes, whenever I ask it to play a song, if that song is explicit, go ahead and play the explicit version. I don't have a problem with that. Update listening history. This is a way for you to decide whether music that is played on a certain device actually updates your listening history. So think about this. Maybe you have a HomePod mini in your child's bedroom, and they listen to songs that you would never listen to. And you don't want it to affect how Siri and Apple Music recommend future songs to you. You would turn off update listening history for that specific HomePod mini to keep that from affecting your music recommendations. The last section is allow access to, and this is more pertinent for people who you add to the home. So control accessories remotely. That means that even while the person is out of the home, if there is an Apple TV or a HomePod mini or a HomePod in the home, they would still be able to control the accessories in the home. And then the next option is add and edit accessories. This is the ability to actually add new home devices to the HomeKit network and make edits to them as well. So let me show you what that looks like with a secondary user. If I click on this person who is an admin, you'll notice that there are options that say, do you want to give this person the ability to control accessories remotely? And by clicking on this, it turns that function off. So that person is not able to control accessories remotely. Then I can give them the ability to add and edit accessories as well. So you can say, no, I don't want this person to be able to add accessories to the home. They are in control of the rest of the settings. They choose whether recognize my voice is turned on or off for Siri, whether personal requests are turned on or off. They choose whether they show up on the Apple TV, and they choose whether allow explicit content is turned on and update listening history is turned on. To remove a person, you click on them and then you choose remove person. That will take them out of your home. We'll go back, and I want to show you how you add a person. If I click on invite people, I can choose a person to add. So in this case, I would choose Mikah TWiT at iCloud.com. That is the the account that I have for testing and for doing these shows as well. And so this gives that person, that fake TWiT account, the ability to join the home. And when they join the home, they will be able to accept and be added. I can click on them at any time and choose cancel invitation. And now they are removed from the home. The next settings are energy, home hubs and bridges, sensors, and speakers and TV. If we start in energy, this is simply a toggle that says, I either want you to show the grid forecast or I don't want you to show the grid forecast. And we'll talk about the grid forecast here in a moment. The next option is home hubs and bridges. This shows you the different home hubs that you have in your home. So you'll notice that I have living room, kitchen, and office. And these are the different Apple TVs, and these have to be 4th generation or later, and HomePods that are in my home that act as a home hub. If you're wondering what a home hub is, it is a device that works with Apple's HomeKit in such a way that if you are outside of the home, you're still able to gain access to your HomeKit home and access it to turn on and off the lights or do whatever it is you happen to do with your HomeKit home. Importantly, crucially, these devices are plugged in and ready to go at home at all times so that you are able to do that. You also need them to do certain automations. And basically, if you want your smart home, your HomeKit smart home to work properly and at sort of full power, you need to have an Apple TV 4th generation or later, and or a HomePod, either 1st generation as living room left and living room right are, or HomePod mini or 2nd generation HomePod, which some of these other options are. Next are bridges. These are devices that provide access to multiple HomeKit enabled devices. So for example, Office Philips Hue is a bridge that is connected to my router. It is the thing that is connected to HomeKit, and it itself is connected to all of the different Hue lights. So if I were to click on one of these, then I can choose to remove the bridge from my home. I can see where it comes from. I can see the accessories that are connected to it, etc. That is the way to view these bridges and to remove those multiple devices at once. You don't remove individual lights. You actually need to remove the bridge as a whole. Now, back up here in Home Hubs, you can see that there's only one that is currently connected. There's no need for all of them to be connected all at once. And so you often will see that many of them are in standby while one is running to actually serve as the Home Hub. So they only need to be accessed in the case when they need to be accessed, but they can just kind of sit idly and exist in standby mode unless and until they need to be used. But this is a great way to a great place to come to see that you have at least one device, one home hub that is connected. Up next, sensors. So these are going to be sensors, well, actually the settings for notifications for the sensors in your home. So you choose whether these devices are actually notifying you of things that you might have going on in your home. So I have a carbon dioxide sensor that's in my living room. And so it will send a notification to me if the carbon dioxide level reaches above a certain point that I have set in the app itself. You can also choose, whenever it comes to notifications, when notifications come through, a specific time, and depending on which people are in the home. So I'll click on one of these, time, and I can choose anytime send me these notifications. I can say that while the sun is up, send me the notification. And I can even click on that's the information icon, to choose sunrise and sunset, or to choose 15 minutes, 30 minutes before sunrise, sunset at night. So that can be 15 minutes after the sun sets, 15 minutes before the sun sets, etc., or at specific times. So I can say between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. notify me, but don't notify me otherwise. And so I'll keep that at any time. And people, this says when somebody is home, that means that anyone you've invited to your smart home is considered part of this. So whether I am home or the other person that's part of my smart home is home, either or. When I specifically am home, as I'm the one that is in control of this. So even if the other person is home and I'm gone, notification won't play. It'll only play if I am home. When nobody is home, meaning that there's nobody in the smart home. So the person that's part of this smart home plus me, when we are both gone, that's when it will notify. Or when I am not home, meaning that while I'm gone, that's whenever the notifications take place. It doesn't matter if the other person is there or not. It's only when I'm gone. So turning that off means that it doesn't filter for people in your smart home. And as you add more people to your smart home, they also play into whether or not that notification goes off. And then there's the Hue Motion, which is just a motion sensor that has the same settings. I can choose to turn that on or off. Next is speakers and TV. And these are just some settings for the speakers you have in your home and the TVs that you have in your home, Apple TVs. So here it says, who has access to the speakers and TV? Is it everyone? Is it anyone that's on the same network, or is it only people who are sharing this home? So I have this set to anyone on the same network. That means that anybody who has connected to my Wi-Fi network is able to access and control the speakers and the TV that I have in my home. They're connected to HomeKit through this Home app. Next is listen for, hey, you know who. And there are multiple options here once again. So you can choose to have it set so that SIRI on its own is a phrase, as well as hey, SIRI. Or you can say, only if I say, hey, SIRI, do I want you to respond? And then you get to choose which devices actually listen for this. So you can turn this off. You can say, I don't want the kitchen HomePod to be listening for that. I don't want the living room HomePod to be listening to that. I don't want the office HomePod to be listening to that. And that is basically saying that those devices don't need to have SIRI turned on. And in fact, I'm turning that off in the living room HomePod because those are the two HomePods that serve as the speakers for my Apple TV. And I don't want them getting interrupted by hearing me trigger SIRI. So we'll pop out of that. And then software update. When you do this, anything that is, this is a little difficult. So HomePods are updated through the Apple TV or through the Home app. Other Apple devices are not updated through the Home app, including the Apple TV. That is updated on the Apple TV itself. So here is where you update HomePods through the Home app. You can also update certain accessories from developers or from manufacturers who have decided, who have elected to have the Home app be the way that the app or that the device itself gets updated. Not every device does this. The Waymo Stage Scene Controller is one that gets its updates through the Home app. And so long ago, I got a notification and I was able to use this to update it. So if I click on Updated Recently, you can see, on June 29th, 2023, that is when the Waymo Stage received its update. And then a bunch of HomePods were also updated to 17.2 recently. All of that happens here in the updates section. Next is media. And that is the only setting here is sound check. And what that does is it makes it so that when you're playing music, that all of the music that is coming out of the HomePod sounds the same in terms of volume. So you may have a library of songs that all have different technical volume levels. And so you would go from playing one and it would come in quiet. So you'd turn it up and then the next one's loud. And so when it plays, because you turned it up for the last one, it blasts you. This kind of normalizes things and makes it all sound volume wise similar. The next is for scenes, which is show suggested scenes. This gives you the ability to see some kind of scenes that you might set up based on how the Home app identifies the devices that you have and whether or not you want to have scenes turn on for when you leave the home, enter the home. I have that turned off because I don't like the suggested scenes. They just get in the way for me. And you can also have this so that when you're adding a new device to your home, you can choose to see suggested scenes. Home wallpaper, this is for choosing the wallpaper that's in the background. You can see there are multiple options here. And then at the very end, you can choose a photo if you'd like to set up your own. Home notes, that is a section where you can add notes. So if you are maybe renting your home or something like that, especially these short-term rentals like Airbnb, and as part of this, you have HomeKit as the platform for controlling the different devices in your home. You can put little notes here so that when the person connects, they can see the notes right in this section and get some understanding of what's going on. So they are shared with all users of the home whenever they're added. Location services, you definitely want this turned on. This is basically a way for the Home app to be certain that you are in a specific location and understand where you are, where other people are, and be able to run those different automations based on your location. And then the last option is to remove home. This, of course, lets you delete the home. And so if you ever create a home by accident, or if you want to start fresh, this would be the way that you do that, by choosing remove home. We'll go all the way back up to the top, and we will back out of this screen, because the last thing I want to show you here is that in this main section here, this is how you add how you make edits to your homes. So if you have more than one home, say you're blessed to have a vacation property, then you might have your main home and then a secondary home listed here. And you would turn on home switching. What that would do is when you're at your vacation location, you can have it automatically have the Home app switch to that so that you can control that. If you click edit in the top left corner, this of course gives you the ability to switch between homes, and rather to change the order of the homes. So I'll choose done, and I'll choose done one more time. And now I want to show you, again, we're still in this main tab and we're in the home section. We're going to hit the plus button now instead of the more button, which is just to the left of that more button in the top right corner. This lets you choose to add a scene, add an automation, add a room, or add people. Now, I already showed you how to add people from the other menu, but this is the same way. I can choose to add a scene. A scene is a way to do to make adjustments to multiple devices at once. And I'll show you an example of a scene. Add an automation. This is a way to have certain triggers result in changes in your home. Automations can contain scenes, or they can contain individual devices. Add a room, of course, gives you the ability to create a new room. So if you are building out your home for the first time in the Home app, this is what you do. And of course, as I mentioned, add people is last. Now, in the Home app, in the Home tab, up at the top, you will see different sections. You'll see climate, lights, security, speakers and TVs, and then energy. And these sections all correspond to different sort of bits of information coming from different devices in your home. You can click on them, and it quickly sorts to a specific category. So I can see the temperature range in the home, 68 degrees to 74 degrees. Humidity is 50 to 53%, depending on the sensor that's detecting, and the air quality is good. A device that's considered a climate device is the fan that's in the bedroom, and I could easily click on that to turn it on or off. The next section is lights, so that sorts all of the lights. The next section is security, and there's no device right now that exists in the security category. The next are speakers and TV. So you can see the HomePod, you can see the Apple TV that's in the living room, the Apple TV that's in the office, the HomePod Mini that's in the office, and the HomePod Mini that's in the kitchen. And the last section, I mentioned earlier about the energy grid. This gives you a forecast based on your location of when your electric grid is likely to be using cleaner energy. And so you can choose to have certain devices maybe turn on or turn off based on when the energy is reported to be greener or cleaner at a specific time. And so between now and 5 a.m., the energy's not super clean, but apparently starting at 5 a.m., it looks like from 5 to 6 a.m., available energy sources may have lower carbon emissions. So that will, in theory, be a cleaner use of the energy. So yes, you can set up notifications by clicking on energy and then clicking on the little notification bell next to that grid forecast. And that way you'll get notified and you can kind of adjust things accordingly. All right, we are going to stay on this page. Let's go ahead and choose Add Scene. When we click on Add Scene, you can see that even though I don't have suggested scenes turned on, they do provide some suggested scenes here in the Scenes page specifically. That's fine. That is where you want them. You can have a scene called Arrive Home, Good Morning, Good Night, Leave Home, or create a custom scene. These are easy. So I'm going to show you creating a custom scene. I'll call the scene Movie Night. And I can click on the little icon that's got a home on it and change it to something fun, like a movie ticket that we will make blue. And we'll click Done. Now we've got an icon and we've got a scene called Movie Night. Now I need to choose the accessories. So I'll click Add Accessories. And the room where I watch my movies is the living room. So what I want to do is make adjustments to the devices in the living room. So I'm checking the box next to each of the devices in the living room, and I will click Done. This is the selection of those devices. I have not yet made adjustments to what they do. Now I need to tell the Home app what I want these devices to do if I trigger this scene. So first and foremost, I want to click on Floor Lamp, and I want to set Floor Lamp to a deep red color, because red light, it's kind of hard to explain, but red light is it is a very dull light. And so we'll set it to red and we'll set it to 10%, and then table lamp also to 10%. Now, to be realistic, we probably would just make sure that the lights get turned off. Right? So I just wanted to make sure that you could see. You click a color, you drag the thing. But really what we want to do is have these devices get turned off. So what I'm going to do is, instead of clicking on the name, I'm going to click on the icon of the floor lamp and the table lamp, and that actually tells it to turn off. On the HomePod in the living room, there's nothing to do there. And on the Apple TV as well, there's nothing to do there. That instead is, those are media devices. And so what we want to do is tell the audio to either play, pause, resume, or adjust volume. And so let's say that we want to adjust the volume to 50% or so. Maybe we, during the day have it lower or have it higher, and we just kind of want to reset things so that we can work from that. Because, you start a movie and it's blasting at you. That might be uncomfortable. Now I've got all of these devices added to the scene Movie Night, and you can always click Test this scene. What that will do is do all of the things that the scene does, make sure that it's working. You can add more accessories if you'd like. And then last but not least, you can choose to add to home view. So what that does is it will appear on that main home screen that we showed you before. Otherwise, this scene will only appear in the specific room where that scene takes place. So in this case, living room. If I had added some accessories from Office as well, it would also appear in Office. So I am going to back out of that because this is not a scene that I actually want to set up. But I will show you one of the scenes that I use in Office is called On Air. And the way that you can edit a scene that already exists is by moving your mouse over it and then right-clicking and choosing Edit Scene. From here, I could change the icon and do all that stuff. I can also adjust which lights turn on. You notice here, what On Air does is it turns on the floor lamp, it turns on the key lights, it turns on these two devices behind me that are called Peter and Paul, these two lights here. And I don't have it set to be visible in the home screen because it is just an accessory that I want for the Office. Next, let's move to Add Automation. With Add Automation, you choose an event that will trigger a specific change. It can be a scene, or you can actually select a number of devices that will change. So you can say when people arrive, you can say when anyone arrives, or when a specific person arrives, or you can have it set to when the first person arrives, meaning that anytime someone walks in, if they are part of the smart home, then do this thing. Location means I want this to happen at home, or I want it to happen at a distance, that is, maybe you want it to happen when you arrive at work, for example. So you'd set work as the location. And then time, just as before, you've got any time during the day, at night, or at specific times. And so let's say that this is a thing that says, when anyone arrives at my home, anyone who's part of my smart home arrives at my home after sunset, so that's at night, then what I want you to do is, and I can either choose to trigger a scene, or I can pick specific lights. So in this case, I would want the lights in the kitchen. The lights in the living room, one of the lights in the living room, to turn on because it's dark at night. And so I want to make sure that a light turns on when anyone arrives home. I would choose just like in scenes, I would choose the brightness and the color, and then I can have it work by tapping or clicking on done. Now, what's cool about this is because Apple knows that it's an automation and knows that you may be trying to do something that is sort of temporary, there's an option called turn off. And so what this does is any accessories that are turned on by this automation, you can tell it to turn off after a period of time. So this is really helpful, say, if you have lights in your garage that are smart home compatible, or you have a light in your kind of entryway. When I arrive home, turn on that light in my entryway, or turn on that light in my garage, and then 5 minutes later, go ahead and turn that light off. Or maybe it's 3 minutes, however long you think it takes for you to get out of your garage, right? This automation will trigger when anyone arrives home, only while it's night. This light turns on, and then 5 minutes later, it turns off. That is one automation type. Now I'm going to go through the other automation types, but we won't go through the entire process of creating an automation because now you know what that looks like and it works the same. When people leave, so again, this can be when the people that are part of your home leave the home. I want you to do this. And this can be when anyone leaves or when the last person leaves. A time of day occurs, sunrise, sunset, or a specific time of day. You can choose which days it takes place on: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and which people are involved. So when somebody is home on Tuesdays at 8 p.m., then do this. So you can get very detailed. When I am home on Thursdays after the sun sets, then do this. Very involved. When an accessory is controlled, so this is very handy if you have multiple accessories that kind of need to run together. So maybe you have, I used to have one set up where when my TV turned on, then I needed a light that was in the living room that would constantly cause glare on the TV to turn off. So every time I turned on that TV, if that light that was on in the living room was on, if the light that had glare that was in the living room was on, that would turn it off automatically. So you could say when the fan in the bedroom turns on, and again, we've got these options for time and people, then I want you to go ahead and turn off the lights in the bedroom, because every time I turn on the fan in my bedroom, it's only at night and it's only after I'm going to bed. That's one example. And the last option here is when a sensor detects something. So with this, you can see all of the sensors that I have in different places. In the living room, there's an air quality sensor, carbon dioxide sensor, humidity sensor, and temperature sensor. In the bedroom, there's also a temperature sensor, an air quality sensor, and a humidity sensor. So maybe what I would want is when the air quality in the bedroom drops below fair, at any time while somebody is home, then turn on the fan in the master bedroom or in the bedroom and keep it on. So that way, or you could even say turn off after, 15 minutes, say, because after 15 minutes, the air has kind of circulated and that should hopefully cause the air quality to rise once again. So there are all of those options, as well as the options below that are suggested to you. So when motion is detected in the office, for example, turn on the lights in the office. When the last person leaves home, turn off all of the devices. When the first person arrives home, turn on all the lights. I wouldn't do any of those, but those are options as well. And then you can see we were on the home screen. We chose plus, we chose add automation. It went ahead and took us to this automation tab to show you the different ones that we have automations that we already have. You'll notice I have two automations here. At sunrise, turn off the light strip in the kitchen. At any point, I can edit the automation simply by clicking on it. And if I ever want to disable an automation, I simply click on it in the automations tab and toggle it off. If I ever want to remove an automation, I click on it in the automations tab, I scroll all the way to the bottom and I choose delete automation. But what this one does is when the sun goes up, the light strip I have in my kitchen turns off. When the sun goes down, the light strip I have in my kitchen turns on. And it keeps us from using the overhead light in the kitchen too often because it provides enough light after the sun has gone down to see around in the kitchen as is needed. And you can also hit the plus sign from the automation tab on the left to be able to access your automations. Then the last thing in the plus section, other than add people, which we talked about before, is add room. This, as I mentioned, lets you create a new room. You can choose a room wallpaper, and then it will show up in the rooms section in the toolbar on the left. Once we get through home, we've done automation. We've got Discover, and this section is just everything you need to know about the smart home, and particularly the HomeKit smart home. So you can learn more about it. You can see what Matter is, what is involved there. You can shop different Apple products that are available in the Apple Store, different third-party products that are also available in the Apple Store. This is just a section for more information on each of the devices. The next section is the categories section, which of course gives you the ability, as we did before, to sort between the different devices. So it's akin to being on the home screen and clicking on those different categories. And the last part is sorting between different rooms. So I can sort to the living room, the office, the kitchen. And if I hit the plus sign from here, you see I've got the same options: add scene, add automation, add room, and add people. And the three dots for more lets me set the home settings, but now there's a new option called room settings. Here, I can change the room name and the room wallpaper. I can also remove a room, but now there's a section called Zone. And Zone is a way to create groups of rooms. So I have two zones that I created. You simply create a new zone by clicking Create New in the Zones section. The two zones are downstairs and upstairs. And these are mostly for control when you are using SIRI, Apple's assistant. So you can say, turn off the lights downstairs, turn off the lights upstairs. You create different groups, and those larger groups can be controlled. And then also some third-party apps will also make use of these zones. So if at any time you want to say, I used to have one for outside, inside, upstairs, downstairs, because I had all of that going on. And so it helped me to kind of group those accessories, and particularly it was helpful for outside. Turn off all the lights outside. So the porch light and the back porch light would all turn off. And you can rename the room as you need to. The last thing I'll show you is just simply making an adjustment to an accessory. If you click on the icon of the accessory, this turns on or off the accessory or toggles it in some way. If you click on the words that are next to the icon, to the right of the icon, this will actually bring up the context menu and let you make changes there. There are, when it comes to lights that can show multiple colors, you'll have the colors listed below. And the final section, which has a kind of rainbow wheel around it, is the option to choose a custom color. So clicking on that brings up an option to choose between different colors and make adjustments to brightness as much as you want to. So I'll cancel out of that. And this, of course, is just for lighting. And then there's the settings option, which gives you specific settings for that device. So here I choose which room it's in. I can have it appear in the main home view. I can include it in favorites. This is a light that I want in my favorites, and so I have it there. I can choose to group it with other accessories. This is particularly helpful if, say, you have a mirror in your bathroom, and there are 4 lights up above the mirror, and you always have used them as kind of one light. You typically turned on or off the light switch to trigger all 4 of those lights. Now, say you've got 4 hue bulbs in those spots. You've got that light switch on the wall always on, and you don't want to have to tap, 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 tap on 4 different tiles to get all of those lights to turn on. You can choose to group those accessories together, and it kind of creates this little folder that makes them one object. So you can immediately turn on all the lights or off the lights with just that one tile. You'll see that there are some automations here. So you can say, when the first person arrives home, turn on. When the last person leaves, turn this off. Those are just suggested automations. Suggested scenes. Once again, even though I have suggested scenes turned off, it still does try to recommend them. It just won't recommend them whenever you are adding the device to your home. Status, which will let you decide whether this is included in the home summaries. So this would appear in that category summary, letting you know that it's one of the 15 lights that you have on in your home. If you toggle this off, then it's not part of that status. So you won't get it included as part of that. And then the last section, this is only going to appear for things for which it is relevant, is bridge, which I showed you that earlier. It is connected to that Philips Hue bridge and therefore shows the bridge section. And I can choose to remove the bridge from the home because I can't remove this individual device from the home. It is part of that bridge. Then I can click close to come out of that, and I'll click anywhere else to come out of that. I want to show you one more accessory just so you can kind of see the different options that are available. So for the Apple TV, for example, I will click on the Apple TV and you'll see the name up in the top, which you can change the name, the room that it's in, whether it's in the home view or if it's in favorites, and then automations. The other options that we have here are simply the suggested scenes and the status and the default audio output. So you'll remember status. This is whether it's included in the home summary. And then the default audio output. This is specific to Apple TVs. If an Apple TV exists in a space with HomePods, then you can choose to have that Apple TV automatically play audio out from the HomePod as opposed to from the Apple TV. So that is the way that you do that. And of course, down at the bottom, we once again have the option to remove the accessory. Folks, that is an overview of the Home app for macOS. Yes, it's very involved. And can you believe it? Even though it can do all that, it can't add HomeKit accessories to your home. You still have to do that with an iPad or an iPhone. So very involved, very capable, but to actually add those devices, you do still need an iPhone or an iPad to make that possible. Folks, that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of Hands on Mac. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being a part of Club TWiT. I really appreciate it. And I will be back next week with another episode. If you have thoughts, topics, questions, etc., send those Mikah@twit.tv, and I'd love to get those answered for you. Thanks for tuning in, and once again, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.